Team, welcome back to the 10 Days to Quick Cash. We're up to day 5 of the program, and you guys have been absolute rock stars so far. You guys are saving thousands of dollars. I've seen every number from a couple of $100 to a few thousand to over $10,000 a year that you've been saving already. So I just want to do a quick recap, and we're going to jump into day 5's content. Day 1, all about goal setting, getting clear on how much would be a meaningful difference to your life. Day 2, the 5 levels of expenses, necessities, quality life, splurge, waste, interest, and debt repayments. Day number 3, saving cash, stop, substitute, and negotiate. Day number 4, we're looking at the millionaire mindset, the habits, patterns, and routines of millionaires and multimillionaires. And the question was, do you identify with being a millionaire or a multimillionaire? Today, day 5, is the 8th wonder of the world. The great Albert Einstein once said that the compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it, and he who doesn't pays it. And this is why it's so significant. So, I'm going to talk to you about the power of compounding interest. And before I do, I want to tell you a story. In ancient Babylon, and if you've ever read the book by George C. Clarkson, it was one of the very first wealth books ever written, was known as The Richest Man in Babylon. And it's something I believed in so much that when I was 19, I purchased the rights from the family to actually distribute the book in Australia and New Zealand. And my goal was to turn it into a stage play and take it around to families and children across the country of Australia and New Zealand, right? Now, the book's principle was save 10% of what you earn and invest it long term and make sure that your money starts to make you money as well. You know, one of the things that we share in this program is that you're not going to earn your freedom by just making more money. You've got to make sure that the money you make actually works for you, not against you. So there's a fable that in ancient Babylon, which was modern day sort of Persia or Iran today, in ancient Babylon, the king of Babylon, very, very wealthy man, had a problem that no one could solve. And he put up a huge bounty and he said, I will offer the man or woman that fixes this problem for me any amount of gold they desire. And so this gentleman comes along and he says, I can fix the problem. And it turns out he fixed the problem for the king. So the king says, I'll grant you any wish that you desire. And the sort of humble servant, if you will, asks for nothing more than a grain of rice. But he asked the king a very specific request. He says, I'd like for you to give me a grain of rice for every square on the chessboard. And for every square on the chessboard, I'd just like you to double the grain of rice that you would give me. So on the first square, give me 1 grain of rice. On the second square, 2 grains of rice. On the third square, 4 grains of rice. On the fourth square, 8 grains of rice, and so on. So doubling at every single grain of rice. Now, on a chessboard, you don't think there's going to be that much rice. However, if you were to stack up all of the rice, it would equate to being a larger amount than the entire weight of Mount Everest. That's how significant this was. And when the king found out about this and how outrageous the request was, he had the man decapitated and chopped off his head. Now, it's not a beautiful ending to the story, but it's a significant example of just how important it is to understand the power of consistent growth. Believe it or not, and I did this with some of our WildYour clients as part of our income acceleration program. And I asked them to consider if they took $100 out of the account today and they were able to hustle it this week and turn 100 into 200, and then from $200 next week into 400, and from 400 into 800, how much they would have between now and Christmas. Now, it's only 12 weeks between now and Christmas, thereabouts. But in this, what they found was that actually, between now and Christmas, it would turn out to be more than $200,000. Could you imagine having more than $200,000 in your account? And that's literally just doubling it week on week for 12 doubles becomes $200,000. It's an insane amount of money. So the same thing applies in our finances and also in our debt and also in our businesses. And so here's the question I want you to consider. How much is the long-term value of your savings already? So if you consider the amount of money that you've saved over the course of this program, and I know some of you are still figuring that amount out, you've got to make sure you get that done in the next couple of days because it's absolutely essential that you got clarity on how much money you're going to save. But let's say you wanted to save a couple of $1,000s. Here's an example. I want you to go to this link, which is bit.ly/10DQ cash. That's 10 days to quick cash. So bit.ly/, and then in capitals, 10, number 10, DQ cash. When you go to that link, it'll bring up a compound interest calculator. Now, here's what's significant. I want you to consider on the left-hand side, you'll see your initial deposit. That's how much money you've already saved in this program. So I've given you the example here of $2,000. You would put in whatever number you've saved, for example. Then the regular deposit is, let's assume that you would have wasted that money year on year on year. And so let's say if it's $2,000, let's assume that if you never did this program, it's pretty likely you'd continue to spend that $2,000 forever. And so just allocate it as a $2,000 regular deposit. So you start with this year's savings, and then every year you're adding in the amount of money that you've now saved moving forward. The deposit frequency in this case is annually. However, if you've saved $400 weekly, then you would put it in as a weekly amount and you would put your initial deposit in as $400 as well, right? Compound frequency annually as well. And then the number of years up to a maximum of 50 is you'd add in the number of years that you have and you get a bit of a calculation. Now, I want you to calculate between now and retirement. Now, for most Australians, retirement is going to be at 65 years old. So you would round up to wherever the difference is between your age and 65. For this purpose of this example, I've just done 25 years as a rough rule of thumb. And then also your interest rate, you're going to have that as a maximum of 20%, but I would like you to select 10%. Why 10%? That's the universal average of the American Stock Exchange. It sits between 9 and 11% on average over the course of the history of the world. So it's a pretty decent number for you to pick just as a rough rule of thumb. So on the left-hand side, the amount of money you've already saved in the program, which is why it's important you figured that out and make sure you post it up as well. The regular deposit is the same. It's the same for both numbers. Your deposit frequency is annually. The compound frequency is annually. The number of years is your age right now to when you come to retire at 65. And then their interest rate is up to a maximum of 20%, but I want you to select and just do it at 10% just to make it nice and easy, okay? So when you look at the results, it'll give you a chart here and a bit of a graph. Your initial deposit was $2,000. If you invest the $2,000 in savings, that's how much money that you would have wasted. If you invested that money instead, you've actually invested more than $50,000 extra, $2,000 a year for 25 years. However, it's not, you don't get back $52,000, the $2,000 you had now in the 50 over the next 25 years. You get back in interest $166,000 because that's the compounded power of your interest. And your actual total savings is $218,000, ladies and gentlemen. You start to see that the dark pink is your initial deposit, and the interest is the amount that you've got in that lighter shade of pink that sort of doubles and triples over a period of the years. What's important to know is that you invest $50,000, it's the same $2,000 every year. You've not increased that amount of money, right? You've not tried to make more money, get a second job. You've just literally kept it based on the savings of this program alone. And by the way, you should be able to save more as more industries become more competitive, but you've kept that equal for the full 25 years, and you end up having $218,000, 364 bucks back. This is how significant what it is that we're looking at here in terms of your calculation. So what you would want to do, if you go back here, go into the 10 days to quick cash, go to your compound interest calculator, you're going to scroll down here, and when you scroll down, you're going to put it all in. Now, I know some of you, for example, have saved a huge amount, but if you were to put it at $10,000, by the way, let's look at $10,000. Your regular deposit is another $10,000. That's how much you're investing yearly. You'd make this annually. You'd make your frequency annually. Let's say, for example, you're currently sitting at 45, so you've got 20 years left between now and retirement, and the interest rate is 10%. Well, then that 10 grand, by the way, you've been wasting 200 grand over the next 20 years. And that means that you're going to get an interest amount of $430,000. You'd walk away with $640,000 if instead of wasting that money, you're investing that money as well. And we're going to talk about different investment classes as well, and you should seek a guidance and advice on that. But that's how significant this is. Let's say right now you're just getting started, but you only have $1,000 you're saving at the end of every single year. So you've got $1,000, but you tend to find yourself in a position where you're just getting started in your life, and so you've got a lot longer. And let's say you're 20 years old right now, because I know some people that are very young still living at home, but you've managed to save $1,000 every year. $1,000 between now at 20 and 65 is 45 years. That's $791,000. So your 45 grand is what you would have saved, by the way, has made you $745,000 in return just by making sure you maximize this. This is the significance of what we're talking about here, ladies and gentlemen. So I can't stress just how significant this is. that we all maximize this and make sure we're taking things to the next level. Okay, so your homework is how much have you already saved? Put up the results in terms of annual amount, the annual amount that you've saved per year. Make sure you've got clarity on that. And then I want you to calculate the annual and retirement value of the money you've saved and post it up into the group. So the annual amount is the amount that you've saved, and the retirement value is when you add up that and use the compound interest calculator, how much money have you saved between now and retirement by making sure that instead of wasting that money, you've invested that money. And then we're going to talk about ways as well that you can start to invest your money and utilize your money effectively. So get clear on how much money you've saved so far in the program. If you need to hustle some extra things, hustle. Get super clear on that amount, and then plug that into our calculator at 10% between now and retirement, and consider not only is how much is that worth between now and retirement, but what's the compounded interest result of that as well. Good luck, guys. God bless. Kick some big goals, and you're doing sensationally well. Make sure you're engaging with this work and you're actually doing the work. Otherwise, nothing is going to change. Good luck, guys.